الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
الحمد لله الحمد لله الحمد لله عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته ومنتهى علمه وجميع ما شاء وخلق وذرأ وبرأ علم الغيب وشهادة الرحمن الرحيم المالك القدوس العزيز الحكيم أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له له الملك وله الحمد يحيي ويميت بيده الخير وهو على كل شيء قدير وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم أرسله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله ولو كره المشركون أما بعد فيقول الله تعالى في كتابه يا أيها الناس إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم والله عليم خبير صدق الله العظيم. Alhamdulillah, we praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and send peace and blessings upon his beloved Prophet, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Alhamdulillah, I'm conflicted today because all week I've been preparing a khutbah based upon or based around the theme of tawbah, returning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in repentance. But if you know anything about me, like my khutbahs, they don't just come from my brain, they come from my heart. So my brain was going one way, my heart was going another way. I don't want to tell you what was driving my heart. Last Thursday, around 1 a.m., a Muslim brother was driving a taxi cab and he picked up a fare from the North Shore with a drop-off in Hazelwood. During this cab ride, the passenger began to ask the Muslim brother, who happens to be from Morocco, where is he from? Where are you from? You look like you Pakistani. He said, no, I'm from Morocco. Then the conversation began to escalate. The passenger began to talk bad about ISIS. And then the passenger began to talk bad about Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, from some of us, the conversation would have stopped right there. But in any case, the cab ride continued. And the driver began to tell the passenger, hey, listen, man, I'm not with ISIS or anything like that. I don't believe in that stuff. We don't support that stuff. I'm American. I love America too. The passenger said, Okay, it's my stop. I forgot my wallet in the house. Stay right here, I'll bring out my money for you. The passenger came back out of the house with a rifle. Our brother sped off when he saw the rifle. But he caught a shot. The window exploded, he managed to turn the corner, and he had gotten shot in the shoulder. He flagged somebody, and they called 911, and alhamdulillah, the brother lived, and this is how we get the details of the story. So the brother was recuperating at Mercy Hospital. For all of us, we didn't hear about this unless you following the news. It wasn't like CNN material. Because according to their standards, this would definitely fall in the category of a hate crime. But unless you were reading the Post-Gazette or something like that, you didn't hear about this. So some of us that knew began to wonder, man, it's been several days, it's a taxi. He dropped off someplace, y'all don't know where to begin the investigation? So alhamdulillah, a couple of days ago, they made an arrest. And some of us were arguing and debating. Because if you know the neighborhoods in Pittsburgh, Hazelwood is not a lily white neighborhood. There's white people in Hazelwood, but it's not the white neighborhood. It's not Squirrel Hill. It's not Fox Chapel. I saw the picture of the one they arrested. And the picture is not even the most disturbing part. The guy that they arrested is black. His last name is Muhammad. Walter Muhammad. And then in the article, along with the arrest report, from what I understood, some more information about the conversation was brought out. I don't know if it was part of the original interview that I just paraphrased for you all, or it's just some information that came later. It seemed to me that they were both arguing about the last name. My name's Muhammad. My name's Muhammad. And right when I'm trying to wrap my mind around that and the implications behind that, some other stuff happens. A mass shooting in San Bernardino, California. And everybody's saying, please let it not be Muslims. And it turns out to be Muslims, according to them. By the way, just for the record, FYI, for your information, I believe about 5% of the information that they put out in regular news. I may be what some of you may consider a conspiracy theorist. Because even their reports on all that don't even add up. First they were looking for 3 people, then they find 2 people who happen to be Muslim, who live in according to American standards, good life, $70,000 a year salary, everything was good. Now all of a sudden they're Bonnie and Clyde. They have these high-powered rifles, pipe bombs, endless amounts of ammunition, all purchased legally at the same time while they're trying to make some gun control law changes. And they were killed in a shootout about 4 hours later after the incident. Then papers like the New York Post come out, big bold letters at the bottom, Muslim killers. And so Muslims all over the world, after Paris, after 9/11, after Paris, And after the numerous attacks that have taken place between them two, Muslims feel the brunt of the attack. And none of this stuff is logical. I'm going to give you an example of the common sense that's not so common that's being used. When the Twin Towers came down, September 11th, this passport amazingly survives the crash. I'm telling you, somebody need to make a patent on bulletproof vests made out of passport material. You'll never die. Because these passports always seem to survive. A passport survives. Then they say all of the hijackers were Saudi Arabia. They're from Saudi Arabia. So their response to that was not to attack Saudi Arabia, where they said the hijackers were from. They attacked Iraq and Afghanistan. That's like saying, Brother Umar punched me in the face. I want to go fight Hassan Ali. There's no logic in that. It's not supposed to be logical. If you understand propaganda, propaganda making sense is not a requirement for people to believe it and act on it. It don't have to make sense. It just has to be real simple. Too much complication and details and all that, you can't get people programmed like that. It gotta be simple. That's one thing you have to understand. The attacks happened in Paris. And people all over the world renew their hatred towards Muslims. They say ISIS claimed responsibility for the attack. Before that, a Russian airliner was, they said a bomb was exploded on the plane and went down in Egypt. So this is something that they're trying to build, and they say ISIS claimed a responsibility for that. You speak to any Muslim who's Arab, they'll tell you, number one, acronyms, you know, like ISIS, Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, they don't speak that way. They don't use acronyms like that. We use acronyms like that. MSA, Muslim Students Association. MCCGP, Muslim Community Center of Greater Pittsburgh. ICP, the Islamic Center of Pittsburgh. Arabs, in speaking their native language, don't think and speak like that. They don't use acronyms. Westerners do. We make acronyms where we take a thought or an idea or a label and we use only certain letters or the first letter from those things and make a separate word. We do that. Arabs don't do that. That should have been a red flag for us, number one. Number two, all of these attacks that I've mentioned and the several that I've failed to mention, Muslims, no place on earth benefit from it. How are the Muslims benefiting from this? The Muslims as a whole or a Muslim in one part of the earth? Muslims nowhere are benefiting from this. And this will qualify under the definition or a type of fitna. When we usually say fitna, like, I don't start no fitna. Fitna deeper than that. Fitna is when you have a situation and right and wrong is not clear. It's not black and white. So you're confronted with that situation and you're not sure what side to be on. And the Prophet ﷺ informed us what to do in times of fitna. He said, stay away from it. He specifically said, sit down. Don't participate. Linguistically speaking, fitna was originally the process by which they test metal. You expose it to fire, intense fire. And all of the weak or impure metals are supposed to melt away, and the only thing that remains is the pure gold. So the connection is that Those who survive the fitna and act properly, that's the real Muslim, that's the real believer. So this is a fitna that's going on for the Muslims. And those who are not firmly rooted in the deen get caught up in the fitna. Like this documentary that affects us directly in the city of Pittsburgh, we just saw a screening of, called Terror. And it had, the star of this documentary is a FBI agent. And I guess you could say that the co-star is a brother that many of us know, Khalifa. And then what I had, even though he didn't necessarily appear in it, he was spoken about at great length. Another brother named Tariq Shah from New York. And when you examine how they try to set you up, and the brothers that get caught up into this, they didn't understand the nature of fitna. One brother thought he was giving his bay'ah, the oath of allegiance, to Mullah Umar, who was the Amir of the Taliban. And he ended up giving his oath of allegiance to one of the FBI agents who ended up locking his behind up. So fitna. Many people that are getting caught up in this fitna are young people who don't understand their deen. They have a lot of anger built up in them, and instead of dealing with the anger, they releasing the anger someplace else. If you look at what they're saying about the so-called terrorists in France and other countries, what are they saying about them? They are saying that these so-called Muslim, so-called terrorists come from the poorest neighborhoods, they can't get jobs, they can't afford to get married. This is what the kuffar are saying about them. When you look at brothers that are getting caught up here, it's the same thing. Some brothers got caught up, I think, by this same agent trying to blow up a synagogue or a temple or something in New York. Some of these brothers have mental issues. They have financial issues. They needed money. That's how they got caught out there. Well, I know you need money, so I'm coming out with a lot of money. Come do this job with me. We're going to blow up this synagogue. And the one who's inviting you to blow up the synagogue, he's an FBI agent. The bomb he's supplying you with was supplied by the FBI. It don't work. And you spend your life in jail for getting caught up because you didn't know how to respond to fitna. And going back to the situation in California, the information they keep sending out is conflicting. And so I can't make it make sense to you because it really don't make sense if you're paying attention to it. They said these are Muslim killers. And then they released some information yesterday saying that this couple didn't attend the masjid for 2 years. And then when you go back over your memory, hopefully you don't have short-term memory, because they bank on this. They bank on the fact that you don't remember stuff. You don't remember the lie they told you last time. If you go back to each of these attacks, and you go back to the profile of the ones that they said done it, none of these people are practicing Muslims. All these guys are in the bar, in the club, stripping, getting drunk, getting high. All of them. But their logic, their illogic, says, okay, these guys who are blowing up cities and setting off bombs and killing innocent people, they're not practicing Muslims. So how should we respond to this? Let's attack practicing Muslims. Let's wait till the brothers are not there and attack the sister with the hijab on with their children. That's why I say, we got to talk about Islamophobia, and, we got to let them know that they don't have to be scared of us. You're not that scared. That's a controlled anger. When you snap out, you don't care who's around you. You don't care if the guy that you're about to hit is 2, 3 times bigger than you. Male, female, child, you snap out. You literally blank out when you snap out. They're not snapping out. That's a controlled anger. Because when the brother's around, they hardly say nothing. When I'm around, they don't say nothing. But when your wife is by herself, then they say something. That's not rage, that's controlled cowardice. They know exactly what they're doing. You ain't that mad. Walhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa afdalu salatu wa tamu taslim ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in wa radiyallahu ta'ala ana sadatu tabi'in wa ulama al-amalin wa a'immatul arba'atul mujtahidin wa muqallidihim ila yawmiddin amma ba'd. As I said in the beginning, I was conflicted and I wanted to talk about Tawbah today. But these other things was pulling on my heart. And I feel that I'll be doing an injustice by not even mentioning them. And so I want to go back to what happened here locally in Pittsburgh with our brother getting shot, the brother from Morocco, the cab driver. Allegedly being shot by a black man whose last name is Muhammad. I don't know if you'll recognize the implications in this. When you do the history of Islam in America, and you go far back as you can go, when you reach that point, it's almost impossible for you not to mention the city of Pittsburgh. When you go back into history about Islam taking root in this country, it will be impossible for you not to mention the city of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And when you go in your history and you go back that far, you're not going to find a lot of Syrians. You're not going to find a lot of Egyptians. You're not going to find a lot of Moroccans. You're not going to find a lot of Pakistanis. You know what you're going to find? You're going to find a lot of descendants of former slaves, Africans, black people, African Americans. When you do that history. And when you do that history, and when you look at the history, you're going to see cities that jump up out of the textbook to you. You're going to see Pittsburgh jump up. You're going to see Cleveland jump up. You're going to see Philly jump up. You're going to see New York jump up. And you're going to realize that at one point in time, the city of Pittsburgh was on the forefront of the growth of Islam in this country. Why do you think you have a masjid here called the first Muslim mosque of Pittsburgh? They changed the name to Arabic, Masjid al-Awwal. It still means the first mosque. It's in Pittsburgh. Why do you think you have a masjid by the same name in Cleveland? Who started those masjids? Think about this now. In all of the cities that I named and even more, they have history of Islam in this country going back at least to the 1920s. Almost a solid 100-year history of Islam here. Then some of you may think you know something. You may say, well, you talk about the Moorish Science Temple, they're not Muslim. You talk about the Nation of Islam, they're not Muslim. No, I'm not. Matter of fact, one of the people who refuted Drew Ali of the Moorish Science Temple, Sati Majid, was here in this city. He set up shop in this city. He set up shop in New York. In fact, he filed a lawsuit against the New York Times against discrimination against Muslims and won in the 20s. This is part of the history in Pittsburgh and many other urban areas on the East Coast. Up until recently, any of these cities you go to, even the black people in that city, if they weren't Muslims, Even if in their mind they get it, they're not sure what's the difference between Nation of Islam and Muslims, they knew what Muslims were and respected them. That's the way it used to be, not so long ago. That's changing. No, not changing. It's changed. In this city, if a Muslim woman wears the hijab, and I don't do statistics, I haven't done a survey, but from talking to my wife and other sisters, you have a higher probability of being made mockery of by a black person than a white person in this city. How did that change? Most white people that I come across in this city, when they see our strange and unusual dress, they use it as a teaching moment. Is that dress you're wearing, is it cultural or is it religious? They want to learn from it. And they'll teach their children on the spot. I've seen it. But the ignorant Negro, the one that used to be cool with Islam, the one back decades ago where if they knew a Muslim, in their mind images came up of men and women who were about family and cleaning up their neighborhood and getting those vices out of their life. That's what Islam used to represent before. Does it represent that now? Think about that. A black man. If you're black, you come from Africa. You can hardly name a place on a map of Africa that's not Islamic. You talk about Islam in Africa, you talk about 3/4 of the continent plus. You talk about the slaves that came here, where they come from. African kingdoms. They came from the kingdom of Mali and Ghana and Songhai. All African Islamic kingdoms. You talk about the slaves who made it here. You're talking about people who were by force, had their Islam taken away from them. Anti-literacy laws, where they forced slaves not to read. It was a capital punishment in many states in the United States to read. It was capital punishment. That means if you got caught reading, you were killed. Now we can't kill you to read. Put a gun in your head, read, Aki. Now you want to pull the trigger. I can't pick up that book. This is how we are. Can't won't read. And all throughout the post-slavery history, and people has gotten PhDs and written dozens of books on this subject. You can't talk about, well, they do it, they talk about it. They talk about black history or African American history and leave out Islam, but it's incomplete. You're doing a scholastic injustice. You're lying. You can't talk about black people in this country and not talk about Islam. It's impossible. But now we reached a period of time where somebody whose skin is just as dark as anybody else's skin in here, who has the last name Muhammad, shoots another Muslim who I'm not sure, also has the last name Muhammad. The best name, named after the best man that ever stepped foot on the face of the earth, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is the level of jahiliyyah that we reached. It indicates that some of us are not doing our job. The propaganda of the kuffar is more stronger than the dawah of the Muslims. Because most of us have the mentality, the mindset that we gotta blend in. We can't stick out. We can't make any waves. Hello, knock, 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 knock. You haven't been making any waves, but it's not helping. That strategy is not working. What will it take for you to realize that that's not working? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the verse that we mentioned, O mankind, verily we created you from a male and a female. and we made you into nations and tribes. Lita Arafu, so that you may know. I know if you've been around here for a minute, you heard me use this verse many times. And usually I mention that this verse usually means the opposite of what the people commenting on it say. Usually when this verse is used, they usually say, brother, sister, there's no black, there's no white in Islam, it's just only Islam, there's no race. Nobody says that until recently. None of the books of Tafsir say that. In fact, it is one of the signs of Allah, as he says in Surah Al-Rum, min ayati, the differences between in our colors and in our languages. That's a sign from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So who are you to just erase all of that? Allah made us from a male and a female, and Allah made us into nations and tribes. Lita arafu, so that we may know. Know what? So that you may know yourself, and so that you may know other than yourselves. This is what the Mufassirin have said. The people who qualified to comment on this verse say. So this verse right here is a proof that you're supposed to have knowledge of self. Sorry to bust your bubble. That didn't originate with Elijah Muhammad, having knowledge of self. That originated with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're supposed to know enough about your own history. When you read Tafsir ibn Kathir, you ain't gonna find it in English though. They edit it out. Anytime they want to hide some information from you, they just take it out and call it the Mukhtasar, the bridge version. You go to Tafsir ibn Kathir, and you explain, and you read where Ibn Kathir is explaining Lita Arafu, he's going to mention a hadith in there, narrated by Abu Hurairah, that you can find in Tirmidhi. And where Abu Hurairah says that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, "Ta'allu min ansabikum litasiluna bihi arhamakum." Learn enough about your lineages so you can go deep, so you can go back far in your lineage as possible. So this is a proof from the Book of Allah, this is a proof from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that you should be learning about yourself, specifically your family, your roots. But that stuff don't interest none of us. And because it doesn't interest none of us, because we don't know this stuff, we can't teach it to people. And because we're not interested in learning anything, we can't teach anybody anything. So we're stuck with the same propaganda that the kuffar have on the TV. So you can't even go to your neighbor and tell them what Islam really is. You can't tell them how Muslims really think. You can't get into any type of geopolitics because you don't understand it. And so you're being brainwashed by the same thing that the kuffar are being brainwashed by. And so the end result of the same is the same. They hate Islam and Muslims, and you start hating Islam and Muslims. And you're Muslim. And so you start blending in. You don't try to stand out. Listen, the Prophet ﷺ, nor did the Sahaba, when they spread out of Arabia or in Arabia, they didn't go to door with pamphlets. Hey, hey, I come to explain Islam to you. You want to take this pamphlet for me? You need to know this man, Muhammad. They didn't do that. They spread Islam by their character, by the way they did business, by the way they treated their neighbors, by the way they treated their family. That's dawah. Interpersonal relationships, how you deal with people. When you cheat somebody out of some money, or your character stinks, you're giving dawah. You don't understand this. This is why a Christian can go to a bar and drink and it's no problem. But you, Muslim, you go to a bar and drink and that represents Islam. Oh, Muslims drink now? Oh, the Muslims are phony. And we make the argument, well, Islam is Islam. The Muslims may not be. You dummy! You don't understand dawah. That don't work. You have to be right. The Prophet, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, didn't send down the Quran in a mushaf or book form. He sent the Quran down by a man, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He was the wasila. He was the middleman. We follow his character. He was a sadiq al-amin. He was the truthful and the trustworthy. You can't spread Islam with some other methodology. Your character has to be right. That's what's going to spread Islam. If you're an upright person and this disbeliever watches the news and says, oh, Muslim killers, Paris, 9/11, Egyptian, Russian airplane, all this stuff, that person's going to say, I don't know. My neighbor is an upright Muslim. He's a sincere Muslim. They pray. He takes care of his children. He keeps his house clean. He goes to work. He's honest. I don't know. They must be two different religions. But if you're a Muslim, but not really Muslim, and trying to be more like them, and then when you get questioned about it, we say, well, I don't know, that's them over there. We know Muslims, we condemn terrorism, and you read the speech that they gave you in the press release and all that. That's nice to see if you don't believe that crap. And you're not fooling anybody anyway. And it's going to get worse before it gets better. You can't hide. I don't care if you shave your beard, if you stop wearing hijab, you stop wearing kufis, you stop praying, you can't hide. You don't understand how deep and serious this thing is. This has happened before, several times in Islamic history. Study the Reconquista, when the Christians took Spain back. The Muslims that was there, some of them, they tried to hide, but that wasn't good enough. Do you know that they captured Muslims? And remember, they all Spanish, they was all mixed. It was all African, North African, Arabs, it was Southern Europeans, everybody was mixed. So several ethnic groups there. Do you know that they would capture some people who they suspected of being Muslim? Who they could find no traces of Islam on them? And in certain situations, they will pull down their pants to see if they were circumcised or not. This has happened in history. So there's no such thing being on the fence. You're either going to leave or you're going to hold it down. And you should not be worried about if they are pleased with you. You should be worried about if Allah is pleased with you. Do you think you'd be left alone saying you believed and not being tested? That's what Allah asked us in Surah Al-Ankabut. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.
Imam Naeem Abdullah of Masjid Al-Mu'min and Nur Zaman Institute is available for speaking engagements. You can contact Imam Naeem Abdullah at the following: via telephone at 267-388-0823 or write him at 537 Paulson Avenue, Pittsburgh, PA 15206, or via email at imamnaeem@nurzamaninstitute.org.
Bismillah.